A panel of 3 federal judges in Texas, including a Trump appointee, just blocked Texas Republicans from using their new gerrymandered congressional map in 2026, ruling that it was an illegal, racially gerrymandered map and ordering Texas to revert to its 2021 map as Trump's redistricting power grab collapses. The author of this massive opinion is a federal judge named Judge Jeffrey Brown, writing for the majority here, this 3-judge panel. It's a 3-judge panel because that's the type of panel that hears challenges to gerrymandering and challenges under the Voting Rights Act. And Judge Jeffrey Brown, appointed by Donald Trump in 2019, ruled that Trump and Governor Abbott's efforts to gerrymander Texas to pick up 5 congressional seats is unlawful. It was a powerful opinion. What you need to note as well, this has no impact on California's Prop 50 mid-decade redistricting. So as it stands right now, California, based on the popular referendum of the people, that was not an unlawfully racially gerrymandered proposition, will get to pick up 5 congressional seats. And the Texas gerrymandered map has been deemed to be unlawful and racist. And it was a Trump judge who drafted the opinion. So Donald Trump can't be like, oh, wacko liberal judge. You appointed this guy, Donald, in 2019, Judge Jeffrey Brown. I want to go through with you what Judge Jeffrey Brown, the Trump appointed judge in Texas, wrote when he struck down the Governor Abbott, Donald Trump mid-decade gerrymander in Texas. So the judge starts off by quoting Chief Justice John Roberts himself, a right-wing chief judge on the United States Supreme Court, because clearly this Trump-appointed judge was basically speaking to the chief judge and saying, if this case ever gets to you, I'm quoting you here about what you said. This is why this Trump judge wanted to make this opinion stick. I mean, he stuck the dagger and twisted it in Donald Trump right there. So he quotes Chief Justice John Roberts as saying, the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. And the Trump-appointed judge finds that Donald Trump and Governor Abbott discriminated on the basis of race when they engaged in an unlawful gerrymander of Texas. Here's what the opinion says. The public perception of this case is that it's about politics. To be sure, politics played a role in drawing the 2025 map, but it was much more than just politics. Substantial evidence shows that Texas racially gerrymandered that 2025 map. Here's why. Earlier this year, President Trump began urging Texas to redraw its U.S. House map to create 5 additional Republican seats. Lawmakers reportedly met that request to redistrict on purely partisan grounds with apprehension. When the governor announced his intent to call a special legislative session, he didn't even place redistricting on the legislative agenda. But when the Trump administration reframed its request as a demand to redistrict congressional seats based on their racial makeup, Texas lawmakers immediately jumped on board. On July 7th, Harmeet Dillon, the head of the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice, sent a letter to the governor and attorney general of Texas, making the legally incorrect assertion that 4 congressional districts in Texas were, quote, unconstitutional because they were, quote, coalition districts, majority non-white districts in which no single racial group constituted a 50% majority. In the letter, the DOJ threatened legal action if Texas didn't immediately dismantle and redraw these districts, a threat based entirely on their racial makeup. Notably, the DOJ letter targeted only majority non-white districts. Any mention of majority white Democrat districts, which DOJ presumably would have also targeted if its aims were partisan rather than racial, was conspicuously absent. 2 days later, citing the DOJ letter, the Governor Abbott, added redistricting to the special session's legislative agenda. In doing so, the governor explicitly directed the legislature to draw a new U.S. House map to resolve DOJ's concerns. In other words, the governor explicitly directed the legislature to redistrict based on racism. In press appearances, the governor plainly and expressly disavowed any partisan objective and instead repeatedly stated that his goal was to eliminate coalition districts and create new majority Hispanic districts. The legislature adopted those racial objectives. The redistricting bill sponsors made numerous statements suggesting that they had intentionally manipulated the district lines to create more majority Hispanic and majority Black districts. The bill's sponsor statements suggest they adopted those changes because such a map would be an easier sell than a purely partisan one. The Speaker of the House also issued a press release celebrating that the bill satisfactorily addressed DOJ's concerns. Other high-ranking legislators stated in media interviews that the legislature had redistricted not for the political goal of appeasing President Trump, nor of gaining 5 Republican U.S. House seats, but to achieve the DOJ's racial goal of eliminating coalition districts. The map ultimately passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. The 2025 map achieved all but one of the racial objectives that the DOJ demanded. The legislature dismantled and left unrecognizable not only all of the districts DOJ identified in the letter, but also several other, quote, coalition districts around the state. For these and other reasons, the plaintiff groups are likely to prove at trial that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map. So we preliminarily enjoin what Texas did here, and it blocked Texas's map.
As the chilly days of fall roll in and the holiday rush begins, it's easy to forget about taking care of yourself. Enter Mudwater, a soothing yet energizing coffee alternative that helps you stay sharp and balanced through the busiest time of the year. Made from a blend of chai, cacao, and calming adaptogens like lion's mane, reishi, and chaga, Mudwater gives you a natural boost without the crash or coffee jitters. Mudwater is like your holiday self-care ritual in a cup, packed with antioxidants and wellness benefits that nourish your body while keeping you centered and clear-headed through the chaos of the season. And as you prepare for the holidays, it makes the perfect stocking stuffer for anyone in need of a little extra self-care. Whether you're powering through gift wrapping, decking the halls, or simply enjoying a quiet moment to yourself, Mudwater is the ultimate way to bring balance and calm to your fall and holiday routine. Every single ingredient in Mudwater's products are 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There's also 0 sugar and no sweeteners added, making it a clean and wholesome choice for your wellness journey. The best part about Mudwater is it provides sustained energy without the spikes and crash of traditional coffee. Using Mudwater is as easy as cozying up on a crisp fall afternoon. Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 43% off your entire order, free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother at mudwtr.com/Meidas. That's up to 43% off your order at mudwtr.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. This fall, nourish your body and mind with Mudwater, a perfect addition to your self-care routine as the weather cools and the days get shorter.
Now, you go through more of the ruling, and it says background. The law governing racial discrimination challenges in redistricting plans. Because racial discrimination in voting cannot coexist with democratic self-government, federal law provides various avenues for challenging an electoral map as racially discriminatory. There are at least 3 avenues to do so. 1. Racial gerrymandering. First, a plaintiff can bring a racial gerrymandering claim under the 14th and 15th Amendments. A racial gerrymandering claim alleges that the state, without sufficient justification, has separated its citizens into different voting districts on the basis of race. The plaintiff must prove that the state subordinated race-neutral districting criteria to racial considerations, such that race was the predominant factor motivating the legislature's decision to place a significant number of voters within or without a particular district. 2. Intentional vote dilution. Second, a plaintiff can bring an intentional vote dilution claim, which is analytically distinct from a racial gerrymandering claim and follows a different analysis. An intentional vote dilution claim alleges that the state has enacted a particular voting scheme as a purposeful device to minimize or cancel out the voting potential of racial or ethnic minorities. Intentional vote dilution violates both the Constitution and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. To prevail in an intentional vote dilution claim, the plaintiff must show that the state's districting plan has the purpose and effect of diluting a minority vote. 3. Effects-based vote dilution, what's called a Gingell's claim. Both of the first two claims require a plaintiff to prove that the legislature acted with some sort of unlawful intent. To supplement these intent-based causes of action, Congress amended the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, to enable plaintiffs to challenge electoral maps based on their racially dilutive effects alone. Then the court says, for the foregoing reasons, the court grants the plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction as to their racial gerrymandering claims, and it blocks the 2025 Texas map and says that the state must use the 2021 map. And its main piece of evidence, the smoking gun, it said, look at the DOJ letter. The DOJ letter said, we want you to gerrymander on the basis of race, because I suppose the DOJ thought that it would have a harder time selling this to Texas if they said, we want you to do it based on politics and partisanship alone. So the DOJ said, do it on race. And the court said, DOJ said, do it on race. You complied with this bizarre letter from the DOJ, an unlawful letter, and thus it's clearly racial gerrymandering. One of the things that the Trump-appointed judge, by the way, all of this is written by a Trump-appointed judge. And one of the things the Trump-appointed judge said was he was very critical of the DOJ letter. It's challenging to unpack the DOJ letter because it contains so many factual, legal, and typographical errors. Indeed, even attorneys employed by the Texas Attorney General, who professes to be a political ally of the Trump administration, described the DOJ letter as legally unsound, baseless, erroneous, ham-fisted, and a mess. Now, the Republicans who are likely going to lose their seats in California are livid right now because they're saying, MAGA Mike, why did you allow this unlawful gerrymandering to take place in Texas and elsewhere? Because now you screwed us over in California. We're going to lose our seats in California, and Republicans are likely not going to gain any seats nationally. In fact, we may lose seats based on the incompetence with which this plan was implemented. California Republican Kiley tears into the redistricting push after the court just struck down the Texas map. Quote, to the extent there was any point to begin with, which I don't think there was, I don't think even if you got a partisan advantage on this, it in any way, shape, or form justifies it. But that's not even going to happen, it looks like. And with this court decision, it's even more in doubt. So it's just utterly foolish. It was a total failure of the leadership, MAGA Mike Johnson, to let this happen in a way that is going to be bad for our own members, bad for the House, bad for representation across the country. And Kiley said that Johnson should have publicly opposed redistricting and just struck a truce with Hakeem Jeffries to leave the status quo in place until the decade is up across the country, in which case everybody would have basically disarmed and we would have just had normal elections. But no, MAGA Mike had to keep it going, and it backfired in their face. As Paul Mitchell said, since everybody's asking, no, this doesn't undo Prop 50. The trigger language was removed in the legislative process as it was clear that Texas was redistricting. So even if their map is invalidated and postponed in Texas, the Prop 50 map stays in place. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom is mocking Donald Trump. Quiet, piggy. piggy, quiet piggy, because Donald Trump calls female reporters that horrible name. Governor Newsom is telling Donald Trump that you're the piggy, Donald. You're the piggy and a loser. Everybody, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching this analysis.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.